Hi and welcome to your Tango primer video. I'm Miles and this is Katerina. Today we're going to talk about three important aspects of Argentine tango. Aspect number one is that it's an embrace. It's a walking hug. Two, we're going to focus a little bit on the walk, and last but not least, we're going to focus a little bit on the music. Argentine tango is a walking dance. Don't get confused, don't get lost, don't misunderstand me. It really is just nothing more than a walking hug. Now, mind you, that walking hug takes a little while to get exactly right, but with a little time and a little practice, and that's primarily what this website is for, a little time and a little practice, and with the right instruction, yes, you too can become an Argentine tango dancer. All right, so let's get started. So there are two types of embraces that you're going to see on a social dance floor. Embrace number one is what we refer to as open embrace, and that means that there's a little bit of space between the partnership, a little bit of space, meaning there's distance between them. So an open embrace structure would look something like this, and we'll get to what the hands are supposed to do and how much pressure and whatnot happens. And we essentially want to look something like this, that there's a little bit of distance between the partnership. So we're going to rotate just a little bit so you can see this. Alrighty, so let's talk about what do you do with the hands. Let's start with this guy. So essentially, we want the follower's hand, and sometimes you're going to see this, sometimes you're going to see this, and sometimes you're going to see something in between. And there's nothing wrong with with any one of those three items. However, Miles, he tends to like this one. So the reason is that we want the follower to essentially allow their arm to slide around you and or going around their partner. And if the thumb is in the way, that stops that from happening. So essentially, we want the sliding to happen, especially if we're working in open brace. So what do you do with this guy? So I'm going to move Katerina's arm out of the way. And what do you do with this hand? It's really just placing it on her side without pressure or tension or force. We're not holding on to her. We're essentially doing the same thing that the follower's doing. We want there to be this free flow of motion. All right, so let's rotate to the other side so you can see what happens on the other side. So this is palm to palm, and that was perfect. She allowed her hand to slide over mine or to fall over mine. So there's no tension, no force. I'm not holding onto her hand. She's not holding onto mine. I'm not gripping her. She's not gripping me. There should be no tension, no force or pressure or compression in any way, shape, or form. So we essentially want this to happen. Nice and light and soft, almost like air, like there's a wind, a light breeze coming through. Just like that, light and soft. And you'll notice what I did to start with. I didn't just reach down and grab her hand, but rather I raised her arm. This is a form of elegance. Okay, just like that. That would be open embrace. The other version that you're going to see is called close embrace, and that's this idea, where I step into, and quite literally, her body is on my body is on hers. She's not in my armpit, I'm not in hers, so on and so forth. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. But we're essentially going to do exactly the same thing that we were just doing in open embrace, only it's closer, hence the reason it's called close embrace. So I'm going to take this arm, and I'm going to go all the way around her. But first, I'm going to raise her arm, just like that. And now I'm going to rotate just a little bit so you can see the other side. So when we're dealing in close embrace, we don't want to look like we're grabbing our partners. So I want to slip my arm around hers, under hers, and through hers. And we want there to be space here. But at the same time, I also want to go around my partner. And at the same time, you'll also notice that my thumb is closed and my fingers are closed. We don't want that to happen. We don't want to look like we're grabbing our partner. And if we rotate around just a little bit, you'll notice that the follower isn't necessarily, dropping. There should be no weight here, but rather we want her arm up just a little bit so that there's physiological contact, but not necessarily a whole lot of pressure here. Bad idea if there's pressure. And we're going to rotate a little bit more, and you'll notice that Katerina is doing the exact same thing that I'm doing, which is her fingers are closed and her thumb is closed. She's not pressing into me, I'm not compressing her. Yeah, we don't want that to happen. That would be awful. So we're going to rotate just a little bit more so you can see this. And there's one more thing that we don't want to do, and that's I don't want to pull or compress or hold on to Katerina, and she doesn't want to pull or hold on or compress me in any way, shape, or form. That is essentially close embrace in a very simple form. Now, mind you, close embrace can get very, very complex, and we will talk about that later on, with other videos on the website that go into a great deal of detail. But this is really just a primer, just to show you what close embrace is all about. I just want to touch on one more thing, and that's this idea. I don't want to necessarily keep the follower in my armpit. You're going to see this happen a lot. Instead, we want them right in front of you, just like this. The tango walk. The tango walk is essentially the gravy that holds everything together. This is essentially what gives tango its iconic look and, more importantly, its iconic feel. We're going to talk about 3 aspects of that walk. The first of those aspects is intention. The second is the actual walk itself. And the last thing is just talk a little bit about the weight change. And then we're going to show you what that looks like. All right. So the first part of this is intention. Now, truth be told, you're going to hear a lot of language about this, and this is really just a primer, just a quick overview. You're going to hear a lot of language about apilado, about pushing and pulling, and about resistance, tension, and force. And some of that language is desirable, and some of it is not very clear. This piece of language is kind of sort of helpful. So the first thing that we want to talk about is what I refer to as forward intention. And that forward intention serves 2 purposes. One is that it allows for the partnership to essentially communicate that we're going or that we're stopping. The second thing that it allows for, specifically in close embrace, is that it allows for that the follower actually physically feels that forward intention as an indicator that we're going to walk. All right, so the lead generates that forward intention. The follower essentially, follows that forward intention. That's why they're called a follower. All right, so what does this look like? Forward intention in this case is really, really tiny. It's really small. It's almost insignificant, but I am going to be really big about it in this particular case. Without the follower actually responding to this, I just want to show you what this looks like. Forward intention is essentially a little lean forward. Without the follower responding. That was nice, though. It's a little lean forward, and I just want to show you what this looks like. Without Katerina responding, it's this. That's it. It's a